Bloodwash is considered as one of the greats of the PS1 retro horror game genre, standing next to gems like Murder House, Nun Massacre, and Power Drill Massacre. Most of them I have reviewed on my channel. From the unique story to the eerie streets, today I will be talking about Torture Star's Bloodwash. The main protagonist of the game is a college student named Sarah. She has a lot on her plate as she is pregnant, in college, trying to find a job, and has an alcoholic boyfriend. The game starts with her entering her mess of an apartment. There are beer cans, pizza boxes, and clothes lying around everywhere. In the other room is her quote-unquote boyfriend that's suffering from a major hangover. She picks up the dirty clothes in her apartment and goes downstairs to wash her laundry for a job interview the next day since her bum of a boyfriend doesn't work. To her disappointment, the washer is broken, so she doesn't have a chance to clean her dirty clothes. Feeling defeated, she will have to go to the job interview smelly. While returning back to her apartment, she runs into her neighbor, Stan. They both have a chat and they talk about the problems with Sarah's child and her boyfriend. Sarah mentions that the washer is broken and Stan recommends a laundromat on the outskirts of the city which is open 24/7. He also warns her that it's not a good idea to go out that late because of the maniac running around known as the Womb Ripper. Sarah blows his warning off by saying, "I'm a big girl." By the way, if any of you have watched my previous video on Night at the Gates of Hell, you might recognize Stan from there as the two games have a connected timeline. Sarah leaves her apartment and goes to the bus stop. On the bus, she spots a really creepy guy getting on who comes to her and just stands next to her. Feeling uncomfortable, she turns to look out the window, noticing that it's now pitch black outside. When she turns back, she sees the man, now unsettlingly close to her, who asks if he can sit next to her. Considering there's nobody else on the bus besides the two of them and the driver, she tells him to fuck off. The conversation quickly turns even more unsettling when he starts telling her that she, along with the child that she is carrying, is going to die tonight. Now something is very wrong. How does this random guy with a tux and red glasses know that she's pregnant? Luckily for her, she doesn't have to listen to him anymore as the bus arrives at her stop and she quickly gets off the bus, walking toward her laundromat. Sarah enters the laundromat, gets spare change, and puts her dirty laundry into the washing machine. To pass the time, she browses the laundromat, walks outside, and looks around each store, talking with multiple different employees. Sarah finds an old photo of a couple and asks why the people in the various stores about the two of them. She finds out about an old laundromat that was destroyed in a fire and that the people in the photo are Louis Kennedy and Samantha Rhodes. Samantha tragically lost her life in the accident. Remember her as she is very important to the story. Some say that she skipped town while others speculate that she may have been locked in the laundromat office before the fire was set. No one really knows what happened. Sarah returns to the laundromat and things start to get weird when a phone rings. Sarah answers it and hears somebody breathing and crying loudly. Later, she finds an unseen, creepy person behind one of the bathroom stalls who looks like he's having the most mean and intense shit of his life. And later, a pregnant mannequin appears out of nowhere, but she brushes it all off. I have no idea how, but she is somehow not fazed by any of this. After some time, Sarah goes to pick up her laundry from the dryer, only to find that her clothes are still wet. She goes to the front desk to get her quarters back, but doesn't find anybody there. She enters the office and to her horror finds the mutilated corpse of the laundromat employee, which has been stuck to the ceiling before falling to the floor in front of her. The killer must be some kind of Olympic powerlifter to be able to shoulder press a whole ass grown man and stick him to the ceiling. She tries calling 911, but before she can finish her sentence, the line gets cut. Terrified that her fate may be the same as the employee, Sarah decides to hide in the office and wait for the police to arrive. The game cuts to a police officer named Burton arriving at the laundromat. He tries to enter the laundromat, but the door seems to be locked. He further explores the area and enters the income tax office after hearing screams and cries coming from it. While exploring the place, he stumbles across what appears to be a naked person holding a bloody fetus, which is, of course, very regular. The person then disappears and the whole place goes dark. The officer further explores the office and finds a worker, but before he can help, the worker gets his throat sliced by the maniac. Officer Burton retreats and enters the vents. While crawling through the vents, random ass spikes suddenly start piercing through them. The officer manages to get to the end, but the killer appears and slaughters him. I was really confused in this part about the spikes. Why would the killer start stabbing the vents randomly with some sort of spikes? It doesn't really fit the theme of the killer. We cut back to Sarah still hiding in the office. She understands that the police are not going to save her, so she tries to make a run for it. As she leaves the office, she sees the maniac brutally rip one of the customers from the laundromat apart. After the killer leaves, Sarah follows. Sarah finds a very obvious false trap door in the laundromat that connects to the old laundromat that burned down. While exploring the laundromat, it's very apparent that this place is the killer's hideout. It has a bunch of dead women with their guts ripped open for display, a bunch of missing people posters, and a bunch of other weird shit. While exploring, Sarah also finds the corpse of Lewis Kennedy. The whole time, the game made me think that Lewis was the killer and that it was very obvious, but now we don't know what to think. Sarah's luck turns around as she finds a gun and decides to go after the womb ripper. Sarah is chased by the killer, and after a long fight and many bullets later, the womb ripper drops dead on the floor. It is then revealed that the killer is actually Samantha Rhodes, who survived the fire but suffered burns and lost her child because of it. It is also revealed that Lewis locked her in her office and set the fire after getting her pregnant. After all the loss and trauma, Samantha snapped, killed Lewis, and went on a murder spree, killing pregnant women because they had something she didn't, a child. After all this, the credits start rolling, but the game isn't over yet. We cut sometime later in the morgue, where an autopsy is being performed on Samantha's corpse. The power suddenly goes out and the coroner, Doug, goes to restore the power. After restoring the power, Doug returns to the morgue and very unsurprisingly finds Samantha's corpse gone. Before he can escape, Samantha appears, murdering him. The game ends. The story is definitely the strong suit of this game. It carries the game to success, and without it, I gotta admit, it would be a snooze fest. I like how the game allowed the player to unravel and learn the story by himself, by talking with others, reading newspaper clippings. It makes it more fun to play instead of just the story being fed to you. The characters also add a lot to the story. The interesting and unique characters make the game interesting and colorful. The atmosphere is the second most important thing in this game. Bloodwash is made to be very dirty and grimy. From the apartment Sarah lives in to the streets, everything around you is eerily abandoned and neglected. Everything switches very quickly when you enter the plaza. You leave the pale and grey streets Sarah lives in and enter a very bright, colorful and neon plaza. It's a stark difference and makes the world seem way more dystopian. I was very surprised when I saw that this game had voice acting, let alone good voice acting. It sounds like the script was read by actual professionals. It gave life to all the characters you talk to, Even a random ass junkie standing in the lobby of your apartment, or a hobo behind your apartment.
Hi there. Are you okay? Can I get you anything?
It's gone. They took it.
Did someone steal something from you?
They took it. The people in the walls. They took it from me. Oh God, she's here now!
I should probably leave him alone. Poor guy.
In a game like this, where the graphics are very simple and elementary, the atmosphere and details like the voice acting have to carry the game to success. The sound design is also very impressive. The game doesn't have much background music, but I love the actual sounds. Small things like the quarters you put into the washing machine or cutting open the body during autopsy. I don't know why, but all of these sounds were really satisfying for me. I also have to mention the attention to detail of the artwork. All throughout the plaza, you can find different comic books, newspapers, and a bunch of other stuff you can read and interact with. All of the comic books are fully illustrated, like it's an actual 10-page book that you can sit down and read. Even though I didn't read any of the comics, I can tell how much time was put into them to further pull the player into the Bloodwash world. The last pro is a very important one. Almost everything around you is interactable or has a dialogue associated with it. Anything from shelves in a store to fish tanks, boxes, and microwaves. Literally anything. Sarah always has something to say about it, which lets the player get to know her way better and get more attached to her. It makes you feel like you are really there. My only complaint about the atmosphere is the VHS effects. I have noticed that in most recent retro horror games, the VHS effects have been awful. I always turn them off, as they make it impossible to see anything. I liked Night at the Gates of Hell's multiple filter options, cause it lets you choose if you want a very light filter or an extreme one. Here, there is either a very extreme one or to just turn them off. I played with the filters off. Bloodwash was a huge success. As of July 7th, 2023, the all-time reviews on Steam have a 92% positive and a 100 positive on recent reviews. Most people praised the environment and the story, while some complained about the lack of gameplay and actual horror. An article from saveorquit.com on Bloodwash says, Bloodwash is one of the best entries in the modern PS1 era horror scene and likely the most streamlined. Bloodwash has become a staple of the retro horror game genre and is constantly being referenced by others. The game nails its simple to follow story and its immersive environment, but could have done more to make the gameplay more interesting. Thank you for watching today's video.